Welcome back to Naval Action, and I thought we'd take a long overdue look. Thank you, everybody. A long overdue look at this baby, the Santissima, or Nuestra Senora de la Santissima Trinidad. Sorry, everybody who can speak Spanish. Which I think is a bit of a religious thing, Our Lady of the Holy Trinity or some such. And to some extent, the Santi, when we first started playing this game, she was at the zenith. She was the peak ship you could get in naval action. There's now the French Lotion, and we're still waiting on some of the other national first rates to come in. So we'll see where she sits sort of longer term in the pecking order. My natural inclination, of course, as an Englishman, I'm sort of a little bit racist when it comes to the beautiful Santissima, because she's a rival for my beloved Victory. She was commissioned in 1769 and built in Havana, so built in Havana, and at the time, I think she was designed by an Irishman, unbelievably. I've got a theory that he was actually in Havana to try and sell barn designs, and realised there was no money in barn designs, and thought, oh, hang on a minute, they need ships these days, and so bought themselves a ship. Her first engagement, and yeah, he flipped his barn design upside down and came up with this beast, because it is a beast. It's just not sort of ladylike at all. It's called Our Lady, but it's really not ladylike. This thing's a beast of a ship. I just need to shut down some of my recording stuff. I'm a bit FPS-y. She's had a bit of an oddball career, as many of the ships have in naval action. So she started off rather well. Shortly after she was launched, in 1780, she was part of a fleet of ships that captured 55 British convoy ships. They were being escorted by 2 or 3 frigates. The frigates were chased off, and all 55 convoy ships struck her colours. So arguably she paid for herself on her first mission. Her second mission was as part of the Mediterranean fleet. She was the flagship of Jose de Corbury Ramos, and she was involved in a very large engagement where she was terribly damaged. Lost all her sails, more than half her crew had been killed, and pretty much struck her colours, but the British just didn't take advantage, and they never picked her up. Look at that broadside, by the way. There's sort of a quarter of a St. Pavel wrecked. And yeah, she really probably should have been captured on her first significant combat duty, but due really to a failure of the British to take advantage, she managed to limp back to port. And she, in 1795, I think, maybe a little earlier, she had a bit of a refit, and that's where they added all these top guns. So across her top deck, from poop deck to quarter deck, from forecastle, she's basically got guns all the way along the line, and it made her the first or the most powerful ship ever to sail the seas, as far as her gunnery was concerned, in the age that we play in naval action. I've got carronades on the top, so they're sort of a bit idiot in how they fire. Of course, it was 8 years later that she, in 1805, that she fell foul of being used in the Trafalgar fleet, where she was next to the Bucentaure, the fleet's flagship, and as Nelson sent his boys in to do the do, she drew a lot of fire with her proximity to the Allied French-Spanish flagship. And as a result, she got an absolute spanking. She was pretty much demasted. She lost a lot of crew, and in the end, she struck her colours and surrendered. Now, while she was coming home, there was a bit of a rebellion on board, and in the end, she was wrecked. There was a bit of a storm, and the makeshift crew that were looking after both her and her prisoners ended up wrecking her. So, really not a super tremendous sort of honours roll, if you like. But you'll see here, look at this, she just tears this Pavel apart. This one isn't overly sexy timed up. It's got copper plating, it's got improved magazine access. A lot of people go with the build strength. That does nobble her speed, but to be honest, with her role in predominantly first-rate port battles, she's not in it for the speed, she's in it for the biff. And that's really, so she suits my playstyle. She's a little bit slow, she's a little bit lumbering, but she packs a punch. And for some reason, I can sort of sympathise with her plight and with her engineering. Now, who do we compare her to? Well, we have to compare her to the Vic, and we have to compare her to the French Lotion. Now, interestingly enough, of the three, she's the fastest in a straight line, and that is pretty much the key part of that sentence. Her turning ability is not good, and that's why a lot of people still prefer the Vics. What she's good at is this: hull to hull, smacky pantsies biffo. She's got a lot of health, she's got as good a armour as any of the other ships, and she simply has the biggest broadside in the game right now. Now, you can obviously trick out your Leosian with its medium range and get a higher reload rate, so arguably your DPS is far closer. But basically, just on a single broadside, a raw broadside, she's 10% up on the Lotion, 15% up on the Vic. And they both have, all three ships I should say, have very much the same armour, which is 75 natural. Now obviously if you get build bonus and do a live oak build, you can spoof that and get it higher. So I think you can get it to about 91.4 or something with the regional hull bonus and live oak. And that does make a difference. It's her broadside that makes her scary. So her bottom deck, her gun deck, has got 34 42 pounders. So that's two more than both the Lotion and the Victory. There we go, as we put this poor old Pavel into reload shock. So that's two more than both the Lotion and the Victory. She also has 34 24 pounders, which is 4 more than the Victory, the same as the Lotion. She then has 36 12 pounders on her second top deck. That's 6 more than the Victory and a couple more than the Lotion. And she has another bunch of £9 or £42 carronades across her weather deck, this top deck here, which is really her sort of her extra deck, if you like. Now, that used to be brilliant. The problem is today, at the moment, carronades are a bit rubbish, so to some extent some of the Santi's brutality has been removed. But at close range, if you can depower and flush your sails so that you can get your carronades down, so I'll do that now. If you can hit with your carronades, wait for the roll to go, she's leaning. Now if you can get your carronades in, so you get all your guns in there, so that's pretty much them all, 57. You devastate your opponent. One of the interesting things to know though is because the line ships are slow, these ships are about 50 meters long, and at 10 knots you're doing about 5 meters a second. That's kind of how speed works. So at 10 knots you're doing 5 meters a second. So from your first gun to your last gun, passing a target takes about 10 seconds. The Lotion being the slowest to traverse its own ship's length, just because it is, I think it's 56 meters or something, the Lotion. So I really think there should be another firing mode for these ships. I think they should have a fire as you bear, which basically means as each cannon comes past my first cannon, it should fire more or less in the same area, not exactly. If it was exactly, then you could pin 50 leaks into your opponent or demast them in a second, because everything would hit the mast, whereas there, 6 shots will have hit the mast. If I'd have been pounding around in double, I'd have demasted that thing if everything had hit the same target. So some sort of fire as you bear would be good. Her rear, she's got a couple of 4 9-pound chasers. Now this is really good because if you are being stern raked, 4 chasers can actually do a lot of damage to smaller ships, and you can certainly damage their sails. She's got a couple of 9-pounds off the nose. If we just get her up to full speed, so she runs best about 30 degrees off the wind. And we'll just get her up to full speed. While I'm doing that, as far as health, so her thickness of her hull is 75 raw, and then chuck in live oak and hull bonuses and you can buff that up. But basically she's got a out of the box hull of 11,400 health. The Victory is slightly more with an extra 100, 11,500, and the Crazy Bonkers Lotion is 12,000 out of the box. Now that's really nice for the Lotion when you're doing things like using Carpenter teams and Carpenter perks and things that increase the percentage of repair. But for the Santee, she's a sturdy ship. She's a little bit flat, and that's important. So it's much harder. So you'll see the Vic is quite curvy. The Santee's a bit more like, I don't know, what's the word, barny, a bit like a barn. She has a beautiful lion on the front. Look at this lovely rampant lion on the front there with the Spanish crown proudly on its mane. So we're up to sort of top speed now, which is 10 knots for this build. And if we turn her through the wind, what you'll find is she's okay going through the wind. At top speed, it's when you drop her down off top speed that you will suffer and come to a crashing stop. So try and keep the speed up as much as you can. Try and make the turn as powerful as you can. And then as we come flush with the wind in a moment, just open up the yards. But you'll see she'll go through, if you're running at top speed, she'll come through the wind okay. I probably turned a wee bit too quickly there. But she'll come through the wind okay. Once you get to about 6 knots, you're probably, that's the slowest I would go to complete a turn through the wind, because if she does get stuck in irons, she's a bugger to get moving again. So her acceleration is horrendous. She accelerates slightly faster than a Martello tower, and her deacceleration is the same. I mean, this ship's so big, small ships orbit it, basically. Now you'll see I'm just coming out now. I'm probably ready to flip back my sails about now. So we managed to turn there without stopping, and in a minute we should start accelerating again. Let's just bring this one around. And I've come out too soon, so I've almost stopped. Let's see if we can get a little bit in them. There we go. So now we're back on the acceleration. So she turns reasonably well from top speed. She's horrible turning if you start the turn. If I started the turn through the wind now, I'd be stopped dead, and then I'll be going backwards for a good minute before I manage to recorrect my course. Thank you. Aussie shutdown. But you can see if you turn her at top speed, or even I would say 6 knots, she'll complete without a stall, as it were, or without you having to use reverse rudder to bring her around. You saw me sink a paddle there, and it was easy peasy lemon squeezy. I mean, I took 2.5 bars of damage. It's almost not worth mentioning the damage I took. And as far as face brawling is concerned, she's fantastic. If they fix carronades, she probably gets close to sort of re-establishing herself at the top of the tree, as it were, because she does have this full deck of carronades across the top, which does make her stand out. She is this big red beast. You've got to love. I mean, I don't think she's sort of scientifically pretty. She's not aerodynamic. She doesn't look curved and beautiful like, say, the Vic. She hasn't got the fancy nose and the ridiculous island size of the Lotion. But I don't know, it's just maybe she's a bit Red Baron. She's got this. She's a Leviathan. The lion on the front, I think, describes her well. If the Lotion's a bear and the Victory is perhaps maybe the Victory is the lion and this is the bull. There we go. That's a wee bit better. I think these things look scary. Being on the wrong side of this broadside is absolutely brutal. And if you get some double shot off on your first volley, you'll, as you saw there against that second-rate ship, you'll absolutely wreck them, and they'll be shy of showing you that side for the rest of the engagement, because fundamentally they've lost a quarter of their health on the first pass, whereas you saw with that second rate it couldn't take a quarter of my health off. Full stop. She's got good crew, so I've got some powder monkeys on here, but out of the box she comes, not powder monkeys, hammocks. Out of the box she comes with 1,050 crew. That's only 50 less than the Lotion, which basically requires a good portion of the Caribbean to crew it. It's a good 200 more than the Vic, so that makes this an excellent choice as a capping ship. This is a good ship to set up as your capping ship. Stick some Green Marines on her and do your first-rate missions, and you'll easily rack in the money. She'll do you lots of favours because you get good money for capping the first rates. So as much as I'm sort of nationally inclined not to want to like this ship, look at that. And you know, I get a little happy in my pants with my Victory, and there's a bit of a ooh wow factor with the Santi. With the Lotion. This baby she's just a brawler. She's in it for the brawl. She's got a good straight line speed, so against the other first rates, assuming sail damage is equal, she can get away from the other first rates. Because she's got the 4 rear guns, 9-pound rear guns, you can put some chain in there when you're close enough, and you can bring down their sails probably quicker than they can bring down yours with their chasers. The Lotion, I think, has got a funny configuration. I think it might have 4 chasers, so maybe, and they'll be heavy, lighter caliber on the front. I think they're 9 pounds on the front, so maybe the Lotion could match you for sails, but you've got a massive 0.1 knot advantage in speed over the Lotion. So although it could be sort of 2 turtles having sex as far as a race is concerned, you would get away, and your opponent may die of old age as the hour-and-a-half battle timer ticks up. But this isn't a ship for running, this is a ship for fighting. And other than the fact the Lotion has got slightly higher health pool, this ship can fight them all. I would consider, if I was in port battles and you're up against some, or you're maybe being picked off by screeners, use your F1 and F2 to turn these two decks off, so you're not having to reload them, and just use your lower, sort of your brutal guns, your 42 and 24 pounders when they're close to you, because they'll all hit, and then you can turn these decks back on. And then choose to maybe knock over sails or depower or turn, or use them to hit a different target. You'll see there the difference between the carronade ballistic. Let's do it on this side just so you can see that, because that's quite remarkable. So I'm going to fire, my top deck is carros and my bottom deck is, sorry, my weather deck is carros, and my first deck, the deck below the top deck here, is longs. Now just watch the difference here in the ballistics as the shots go out. The carros really sort of fly up into the air. Now that wasn't as pronounced as it was on the other side, because I'm downwind here, and this was the upwind profile. But yeah, if you're leaning at all, your carros really, they start knocking seagulls out of the air. I'll do it again on this side now. I've got a bit of a lean on you. You'll see here, because I'm pointing up, look how high those carros are going compared to the longs. Right, I'm putting leaks in the bottom, and I'm knocking the guy out of the observation deck in the masts. She's a party ship, by the way. Plenty of room back here for parties, and this is beautifully decorated. I really like the silver livery. So I actually like the Santi more than I want to. I don't want to not like it, because I love me victory. I quite like even just this basic colour. Some of the colour schemes are really nice, but I like this basic colour, that sort of blood red, that dark red, barn-esque colour. Her weakness perhaps is her flatness, which means maybe your opponents are going to get a lot more penetrations on you. She doesn't ride any higher in the water than the other ships, to be honest. I've got her on a bit of a heel with the way I'm sailing her at the moment. And probably my only complaint really is I believe the Santi should have a higher health pool. She was built as a brawler, but she should have lower armour than the Vic. The Vic had very close very close ribs, if you like, the framing of the ship. That, you know, on the inside of the ship, the frames that go down here, like the ribs of the ship. On the Victory, they were really, really tight together. On the Santi, they were much further apart to some extent, without being too rude. She was a cheaper build, and as such, she should be penetrated more but be able to take more. And when they first did naval action, that's pretty much how she worked. She was basically a cannonball soaking machine, but she got penetrated a lot more than the Victory. Anyway, let's leave her at that, and it's not working at all, it's disappointing. We'll leave her at that and say goodbye to this beautiful ship. I hope you like that. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. I will see you on the oceans, and I will catch you.